Welcome to another podcast for franchise marketing news, the Franchise Whispering podcast. Very honored today to speak to Greg George. So much great franchise experience. Obviously, 100 plus locations, which the Peach Cobbler Factory right now. The Fuzzy Peach Experience, Clean Eats, Shuck and Shack. So much to be able to talk about today, so much to be able to talk about with regards to marketing today. So, Greg George, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
We'll jump right in here. So, I've been like following you for a couple of years now and just through LinkedIn and everything. And the one thing I've noticed about kind of everything you do, there's this sincerity, even like your LinkedIn posts when you're telling the story. And so can you tell me what your secret is with that? Because it's really compelling.
So I don't think it's necessarily a secret. Thanks for asking, by the way. I don't think it's necessarily a secret. I think that authenticity is super important in the world today, whether it be on a personal basis or whether it be on a business basis. And there's so much, non authenticity, if that's even a word, out here with
Everything, stuff like that.
people standing in front of fancy cars and flashing jewelry and all these kinds of things that I just never done it and never will do it. It's not doesn't interest me. And because of my history, I have a very interesting history that, quite frankly, resonates with people. And there's so many people that have maybe a similar history of mine, but they don't have the guts to talk about it. Maybe we'll get into that in our conversation here. But, I'm just authentic. I'm real. There are not too many CEOs out there that are, have locations in 23 states that have tattoos on their neck or tattoos on their fingers or have passion for championship horse racing or have last year we were the fastest growing dessert chain in America. This year we're QSR top 50 whatever. We're getting these rewards without asking for them, and it all comes down to the work we're putting in, the organization that we've built. I stumbled onto the Peach Cobbler Factory simply by accident, approximately 4 years ago. A friend texted me on the phone, said, "Get your blank to Louisville, Kentucky." I didn't know what it was. This guy was my best friend. He didn't get back to me when I kind of sent him a goofy emoji, and I knew it was something. I jumped on a plane out of faith, not even knowing where I was going, and he was taking me to this one-off concept called the Peach Cobbler Factory. And here we are, literally less than 4 years in earnest of franchising. We're in 23 states, approximately 100, including mobile. We're in NBA stadium. We've been at NFL stadium. We're in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport with number 2 under construction. People are starting to look at us. And the reason why they're looking at us, finally, is we're different. And when I say we're different, as I told you, tattoos and, the uniqueness of who I am, I believe that somewhat our brand has taken on a little bit of my being a little eccentric, and we're different. I mean, let's think about it. These great companies like Crumble, Insomnia, okay? They're great companies. Cinnabon, they're great companies. They're all, Crumble's a $1 billion company. Guess what? All they do is sell cookies. All Insomnia sells is cookies. Okay. All Cinnabon sells is cinnamon rolls. Well, we have 9 categories, 12 flavors of cobbler, 24 cookies, 24 milkshakes, 12 banana puddings, churro sticks, brownies, on and on. And as you may have known, we're in beta test right now, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I create the menu. I have zero chef skills, or I didn't go to chef school or anything, but I've created everything on the menu myself. And because I wanted the top quality, but it's got to be different. You can't get a chicken biscuit cobbler anywhere in America. You cannot get a mac and meat meal anywhere in America. You just can't. You've never had a macaroni and barbecue meal. You never have in a cup. And so we believe, because we're differentiating ourselves from the competitors, And we believe the market, the dessert space is oversaturated. We believe that the independent mom and pop places will close. Okay. Over time, just like the frozen yogurt business did, it just got saturated. When Menchie's got in there and Sweet Frog and all these others, everybody went down, man, in 3 weeks. And we don't want that to happen to anybody, but we're seeing the mom paws that don't have the resources, don't have the marketing expertise, don't have the real estate team, don't have the legal team, don't have the accounting team, don't have the support. I mean, I got franchise business coaches all over America sitting with our franchisees and listening and learning. And as I said before we went on the air here, I was in a car 3,000 miles last week visiting franchisees. I don't have to do that. I can sit in, my comfy office here in South Florida and do what I want to do. But I'm out here looking people dead in the eye and listening, learning, sharing my strength and hope with them. That's part of the reason why we're where we are today.
Yeah, no, it's interesting on your products. One of the on the shakes type of thing during COVID, my family and I, 4 kids and wife and I went up to the mountains of Georgia, and I was prepping for this. I still remember the peach shake that I had up in the Georgia mountains type of thing. It was the most delicious thing I think I've ever had. In fact, I got a quick quiz for you. Which state produces more peaches, Georgia or South Carolina?
South Carolina.
There you go. I did not know that as I was
Yeah,
prepping for this.
absolutely. South Carolina.
You're obviously so impassioned about it. You tell the story so well. How much do you rely on the franchisees to adopt that, to feel that, and also present that at the local level for localized marketing?
Well, again, even though we're, a few years into this now, we're still, you know, sometimes to build trust with people like you or the podcast community, you got to be able to share the things you're doing wrong. Okay. And, it takes a lot to say we made mistakes, but just like anybody else, we made mistakes. But one of our weaknesses used to be was local brand awareness. What happens is, an entrepreneur comes in, buys a franchise, invests the money, sets up a store, and, there's lines, miles long for 10 hours straight, or that's the way it used to be. We calmed that down a little bit just because it was overwhelming. But then what happens is that, they go crazy for 90 days and where they're paralyzed with so much business. And then, as things slow down and people don't come back as often, the first thing that anybody cuts is marketing. Okay. And they go, wait a minute, I'm going to back off my marketing. In this business and in any food sector, in my opinion, you got to have your foot on the gas 24/7. And our mentality, corporate wise, is don't take your foot off the gas. And if any problem we've had, it's, a few of our franchise partners have taken their foot off the gas on the local marketing because we invest double what marketing fees we collect. Last year I invested double what I took in. And that's our philosophy from a corporate level. But we're working on that and we're getting a lot better at it. So, the local marketing branding is the key. You can have the greatest products in the world, but if people don't know you exist, you are not going to sustain. You definitely will not grow. And that's why, we're improving. We're first time in 5 years, I've updated my website, a major investment website, front face, back face, a new communication platform for our entire company. We have multiple revenue streams with this concept: dine in, takeout, drive through, catering, deliveries, 50% of our business, events, mobile. So we created a lot of different ways for people to get out there. We're highly successful with our mobile units. Just imagine taking an 8x20 mobile unit in a small town of 10,000 people. It's like the bookmobile. When I was growing up, I was waiting there with the money. Well, that's what happens with us. We go into these towns on the weekends, and there's hundreds of people waiting on us, and we have massive sales in an 8x20 box. And we do it every weekend. We're moving, we're just diversifying. We're looking at modular buildings like a seven inventor. I'm an imagination kind of guy. And, I wasn't always that way. And that's part of the story of my success that I guess we may get into here, that I'm not the gentleman today that I used to be. And quite frankly, I have zero experience of being a CEO of a multi-million dollar company. Zero. I've been involved with 46 franchise brands over 25 years. You read off a few of those. Shuck and Shack, a wonderful company. Clean Eats, a wonderful company, okay, that's grown into a really healthy company. There's more. And so all of the things that I learned what to do, but most importantly, what not to do is what I've learned over 25 years. And so the mistakes are not as brutal or bad that we've made. And the mistakes we've made, we've corrected every one of them promptly because I move very fast.
No, that completely makes sense. And with with that localized marketing, your storytelling, you've got this unique brand that nobody else touches. What are some of your favorite channels you use to
Okay.
market that to
Good
get
question.
that message out?
Good question, because I've spent hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars in my career of other people's money, and now it's our money. So, we've mastered Google Ads. I never liked Google Ads for 15, 20 years. I just wasn't down for it. But if we're trying to recruit franchisees, we get the exact right people through Google Ads because we perfected it. Same thing now with consumers. But what we're competing with, Crumble and Insomnia, and Google knows that, and that's why they're raising the prices of the ads to $500 for an ad. And not a lot of companies have the resources to spend, 20, 30, $40,000 a month on marketing for franchising or other or any for that matter. So I would say that would be number one. We're really good at finding and utilizing the right local influencers. It's a part of our program. We also are, I'm a big fan of this. It's fairly expensive, but it works. We're digital streaming. If you and your wife, if you're married or your better half, whatever, at home at night at 9:30, there's going to be a commercial come on that says we have suites. And so digital streaming, Google AdWords, we stay consistent on Facebook and Instagram. Referrals, a lot of referrals, but the majority of our growth the past year or two, franchise wise, is through Google AdWords. you know, as far as a brand, we got to be omnipresent. We got to be everywhere. We've got to be at events. We've got to feed people. We've got to give back to the communities. We've got to do all of these things. Omnipresence is a word that I use. We've got to be on TV stations. We've got to go give food to the radio stations, feed the fire chief, the police chief, the mayor, all these different things. It's a lot of stuff you must do to stay relevant, or people will forget about you.
No, I mean omnipresent, frictionless to consume the product. You're all over the place. You're giving the consumer one of the things our motto is that when everybody thinks value these days, they think price. Well, convenience is the value economy these days, and so you being omnipresent certainly helps that. Also, keep an eye out for yourself on TikTok. TikTok has got a great search mechanisms. The 12 to 30 they don't leave their social apps anymore, so they just search inside the new TikTok, those
Sure.
type of
Thank you.
things. Just keep an eye on.
TikTok, we do work with TikTok, but it's not, we haven't put a lot of focus there. We know it's very important. We don't have the young crowd yet. The young folks don't even know we exist. And we've strategized that. And, our customers are middle-aged folks, because some people don't even know what cobbler is. They think it's a pie or they don't know. So we
I
have a lot of different areas that we can grow in that we have yet to capitalize on.
I've got 16-year-old twins who know about your USF stores. So yeah, no, yeah, that market is also there for you. So so yeah, tell us your passion for this brand. It sounds like you have a passion for about everything from horses to peach cobbler and everything in between. But quickly tell me about, how did you get into the franchise space? How did that all come about? Obviously, you've been with a ton of brands since then, but what was the initiation? How that happened?
It's just part of my story, man. Busted and 25 years ago, busted, disgusted, Okay, so great question. I got into this, quite frankly, at the lowest point of my life. I was busted, disgusted, going through a divorce, raising three sons by myself. As part of my story, we're going to get into it here, a raging alcoholic and drug addict. And lowest of lows, an associate of mine, acquaintance of mine, knew I was down on my luck, and he called me and he said, "Hey, man, you can sell ice to Eskimos, and I'm getting ready to franchise this coffee shop concept. Why don't you come up here and interview with my partners and I?" And I said, "I don't know anything about franchising." And at the time, I was designing and building coffee shops all over the world and cigar lounges all over the world. And I didn't want to get involved in it. I didn't think I could make any money in it. And he invited me in for an interview. And because I was going through a divorce and I was down and out, I accepted the position knowing nothing about franchising. This is 25 years ago. I still speak with the gentleman today. And, that's where I got my wings. I literally, very few people know this, but I moved to Wilmington, North Carolina 25 years ago with $1,500 in my pocket and three children in the back seat. And that's how I got started. I cut my teeth with that concept, and literally within a year of working with this brand, I was doing so well. I was sending out, that time you had to send paper FDDs out. We were sending 20 a day out. It was right time, right as Starbucks was peaking. And this gentleman, he mentored me a little bit, but I got pretty successful enough to where I said, I don't have to work for one brand. I'm going to work for several. I've always been a Lone Ranger kind of guy. And that's where it really started. I started representing one brand. Then all of a sudden I had two, and then it was three. And then I got on a good one and rode it out for a couple years. And then the owner started making money and we parted ways. And then it just kept growing. And then I said, wait a minute, I've been doing this a while. I'm really good at it. And I started getting equity. I started getting a percentage of the royalties or a percentage of the company. And then literally, uh, less than 5 years ago, I owned 50% of six national franchise brands. I worked my way into these companies and acquired a 50% stake in these brands. And I was doing what I do, and then I stumbled onto the peach cobbler factory, and that's where the story kind of begins, actually. And if you don't mind, I'll kind of share this crazy story that happened. So, first of all, I want to make it clear because I'm very open about it. I am a stone cold drunken drug addict. Okay, I was high every day of my life for almost 50 years. I'm almost 64. I started getting high when I was 12. My father died in my arms at 50, an alcoholic. My grandfather died in a bar floor at 50, an alcoholic. Almost my entire family was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I did not go a day that I was not stoned or drunk. And I'm not ashamed to tell you that. Uh, so that was my life. Although I was a big earner and good at what I did, I was a highly functioning alcoholic. And 8 years ago, something really bad happened. I had my firstborn son. I learned he had an 8-year opiate addiction. He had issues, as in 5 ODs, as in 3 arrests, as in lots of trouble. It really hurt our family. It hurt me. I love my children. I have three sons, but it was a really rough time. But I was using. I was married. And my wife and I at the time had 9 kids between us, and we were rolling, having a big time and all. But I had a son that was dying, and at one point hoped he died because the strain and pain on everyone was just too much to bear. And by the grace of God, I got him in the right place 8 years ago, and he went off to a faith-based treatment center for 3 months, and this is all in one week. I was married at the time. That same week, I got my son in the treatment center. I come home and my wife was in love with her, came up to the third floor of our beautiful oceanfront home and kissed me and said, "I love you, sweetheart. I'm going to run out and make some copies. I'll be right back." I haven't heard from her in 8 years. So that was pretty traumatic for me. And my son, is going into treatment. My wife leaves. I've got these kids. I'm a drunk and a drug addict. That's where my story really started. So what happened was my son went away to treatment. I stayed drunk and high for 3 months. It was time to pick up my son. I didn't know what to expect. I got as drunk and as high as I've ever been in my entire life the night before. Stayed out till 4 in the morning. came home, got cleaned up, went to the treatment center 2 hours away, pulled in at 7:30 in the morning, and I prayed before I walked in because I didn't know what I was gonna see, but I saw this guy standing at the front door of the treatment center. He had on aviator glasses, a bomber jacket, looked like he's in GQ magazine. I went, "That guy is not from here." And I thought, "He's from Los Angeles, I know how to dress and I know clothes." I'm like, "This guy's got it going on." Well, I put my head down and started walking towards the treatment center. The guy opened the door for me. And when I dropped my son off at the treatment center 3 months earlier, he weighed 120 pounds soaking wet. He'd look better in the casket. And the man opened the door for me. And I pushed my glasses down and I said, "Is that you, Andrew?" And it was my son. He weighed 200 pounds and he was rewired, reborn. I didn't know who he was. I did not recognize him. And this is my firstborn son. Okay. He looks like me, talks like me, is me in some cases. And that alone, that was it. That moment when I saw him and didn't know who it was, that was it. That was the last drink or drug. I'm almost 8 years clean and sober.
Beautiful.
My son is 8 years clean of drugs. That was his problem. And he has done a lot of help for a lot of people, as I have. I've helped 53 people get clean and sober over the last 8 years, and they didn't know me. They didn't know who took care of their treatment set up. They didn't know who paid their plane ticket to get there. So I've been giving back quite a bit to the recovery community. I thrive on that. So what happened was I got clean and sober. And then what happened is that brain that I have that quit working when I was 12 started working, and my artistic and my creativity came out. And then I found this concept that had 12 cobblers, 3 banana puddings, and 3 cinnamon rolls. And then I went wild. And what I did is I created a menu for drunks, stoners, overeaters, and workaholics. And our menu today is created for that crowd. I'm just being very honest with you because I was all those. I used to weigh 270 pounds. I weighed 185, man. So I've been all those people. And I know those people, I love them all, but they have those habits. They love sugar. That's my sin. Now, I'm a candy man. Okay. I love sweets, but if that's the worst sin, so be it. So anyway, that happened. I got straight. My family got straight. We're all clean and sober today. I've
Beautiful.
helped a lot of people along the way. And then the good Lord just started blessing me, man. And things started happening. And let me tell you, it hadn't been an easy road, but this is part of the story. So I literally bought 50% of this company in 7 minutes. I met the original founders for 7 minutes. That was it. And then I jumped in an Uber. I was living on my 55-foot ocean yacht in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean at this time. Because after I got clean and sober, I wanted to find myself. I didn't know how to drive a boat, so I bought a big boat and moved out on the water and said, if I can do this, I can do anything. I was living on a boat near Charleston, South Carolina. My friend called me, said, come up, look at this concept. I go, I meet him. I told him who I am, what I do. By the next morning, I flew back home that day and flew back to Louisville the next morning, met the guy at the bank, put money into the account, set up the LLC, signed a partnership agreement. I'd never had any leadership role, but I knew I had to run this. And even
Okay.
though these people were the founders, and I started running it, and then I started running it, and things went on. We got a really fast start. And then, I'm not saying it's a miracle that happened, but I will say that it was interesting. I get this guy I met on Facebook. He wasn't ordinary at all, not even close. He's not even close to extraordinary. He's like a savant. To me, I tell him occasionally, you're like a computer. He's so smart, but this guy wasn't average. Okay. This man had only done 2 real things in his life, overall in the big picture. He, along with a gentleman by the name of Jack Welch, ran the largest company in America called GE. He was with GE for 20 years, high level, senior level executive that lived in 9 countries and was the CEO of different divisions. His name's Larry Johnston. And he was sent from God for sure. And we were just Facebook friends. I didn't know the guy. And the other thing he did was the day Jack Welch retired from GE. Larry became chairman and CEO of Albertsons grocery store chain, $40 billion grocery store chain. He's a Fortune 50 CEO. He's a stud. And one day out of the blue, I'd never met the man. He invited me to his home down in South Florida and said, I want to meet you. I didn't know him, but I booked a flight and I met with him for 2 days. And he just said, I'm here to support you. And that was it. And I went home and went on my way. And next thing you know, we're a few months down the road and I'd kind of outgrown the original founders because I'm I'm a go-getter. I get up at 5 and don't stop till 2 in the morning kind of thing.
Right.
And I get a call one day from Larry Johnston on a Sunday. I'll never forget. And he just said, hey, Larry here. I'm not a young man. I have the resources. I'm bored and I love you. And why don't you make me the chairman of the company and let's build the largest dessert company in the world together? And within just a few short days, Larry Johnston was my business partner. We bought out the original founders and we've been together over 3 years now. And he is my mentor. He is my best friend. He is my father. He is my brother. He is, my disciplinarian. I'm getting an MBA out of him for sure. And I'm being trained by the best. And I've gone from just, above average sales guy. So I'm a CEO of a pretty large operation. And that's all a blessing from above. And I wouldn't be here if I weren't clean and sober. I wouldn't be here without the support of Larry Johnston. I wouldn't be here without the support of the management team that I put together. And I most definitely wouldn't be here with all these hardworking franchisees that invested in the brand. But I'll be honest with you, I've met with several of them after they got in business and they told me straight to my face, the reason why we invested in this company was you and your story. And that's the truth. And it's not my ego saying that. It's just the fact that
Feedback.
very few father and sons get clean and sober. None do together. It's pretty rare, I believe, in the food world of franchising for a company to open 100 locations in less than 3 years in 22 states. It's rare. Okay. It's very rare for a dessert concept to have the guts to enter the food game and compete with the big boys. And when I tell you our food is amazing, I mean, like, again, we've got 3 mac and meats. That's macaroni and chicken, macaroni and barbecue, macaroni and meatballs. That's in a cup burning hot. Then we have chicken biscuit cobblers, turkey biscuit cobblers, meatball biscuit cobblers. And we packaged I didn't, by the way, I just have this stuff on my desk, but we put it in a cup. You carry it around in a cup. Okay. I mean, we got meals that are $4.99. The big boys can't compete with these products, and it's high quality. Everything, every piece of meat, every biscuit, everything that we've chosen, quality over price. Quality over price,
Right.
because we know long term, if we got quality, people will come back. And, you know, I say this proudly. The products that we sell on our menu, other than some brands that have copied a few of our products, you can't get it anywhere else in America. People don't know we exist yet. And as we get bigger and larger, they're going to know that we exist. It'll increase traffic. Just imagine adding 38 hours a week to your business model with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Think about us exposing people to our desserts that came in for our breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or people coming in for our desserts going, wow, they've got gourmet coffee and these beautiful breakfast meals. And, we're not, by the way, we have no hoods, no grease traps, none of that. Okay.
Clean.
This is a low labor cost. Our food costs are some of the lowest in the industry. And the key to success in my world is low food cost, low labor cost, and rent can't be more than 10% of your sales. That's the recipe for success.
Yeah.
And that's what we work towards. And in the beginning, we picked some bad locations, went into some small towns, made our share of mistakes, but now it's 8+ locations, high level operators. I mean, back in the day, almost 4 or 5 years ago, I hate to say it, but if you had a smile on your face and you could look me in the eye and told me you had a 675 credit score and you had told me you could come up with the money, you were approved. Now you can't even get a meeting with us unless you're pre-approved for a $350,000 SBA loan.
Yeah, no, that's the
So
evolution.
We've just come a long way. We got a long way to go. I see a very bright future. As right now, I think you would agree, the economy's questionable. The government's been shut down for 45 days plus. We've got 3 stores in Washington D.C. and they're staying alive. And so I see this personally as being an iconic brand that is around long after I'm gone. Okay, because the name, the Peach Cobbler Factory, if you think about it, the Cheesecake Factory, they started out with just sweets. Now they average $7 million per store. Dairy Queen, they just started out with sweets. They average $1.2 million per store. And if Crumble Cookie can average $1 million per store selling cookies, what are we going to do once people really know about us and we are omnipresent and we have major brand awareness? And the bigger we get, the more resources we have to put towards marketing and branding. And, again, I'm updating a website that I created 5 years ago, and it's going to be a big deal. We redesigned our online app to utilize our app as well. We're pushing our franchisees. Our strongest franchisees. Some of them stay open till 3 in the morning. Remember, I said stoners, drunks, overeaters, workaholics. They're all up at midnight. So we're moving in the right direction. We're making corrections where we made mistakes. We work hard every single day. Everybody in this company is dedicated to the brand, and people are going to hear about us more and more. We're just a little nobody right now, but nobody knew about Bubba burritos until a year ago. I remember they called me, you know, 5 years ago and wanted me to help them grow their company, and it didn't work out. But they just got bought for a big lick, and good for them. And you know, Clean Eats is another great example. Great company, but I'll be honest with you. I wrote the franchise agreement and I helped them get their start. Now, I'll never get credit or want credit to help them get their start because I learned a lot of lessons, good and bad there. Same thing with Shuck and Shack.
Well,
These
no,
were a
I
couple
think
guys.
on the Peach Cobbler Factory, the Southern Tang, that positioning line allows you to do that beautiful line extension that you're looking at with the different products and that type of thing. So great positioning on that as you move into this way, because that now opened you up so well, at least in my opinion, from a marketing and
Yeah.
position standpoint
Well,
on
it's
that.
comfort. What it is now, it's comfort food all day long.
Okay. I was looking at the website and but once again, that even flow, the Southern thing, comfort food all day long, that's a beautiful evolution right there as far as positioning goes. So once again, it opened you up to all those new products. And then also thank you so much for sharing your story, because it's very interesting. I grew up in Chicago. I wouldn't say the same story as yours, but it has a very big drinking culture and a lot of other things that go along with that. I'm seeing something beautiful these days, and maybe we'll talk more about how to get it marketed a little bit. But sobriety is really starting to buoy up in such a beautiful way and such a beautiful choice. It wasn't even a choice for me, growing up in Chicago and stuff like that. It was just drinking and, taking drugs was part of the graduation process type of thing. So thank you so much for sharing that. And let's talk more about how to market the sobriety thing, because it is really catching on these days.
I agree.
The most part. So cross our fingers. Now, I'm going to take you through the closing segment here, which is the lightning round. Are you ready?
You go right ahead.
This has been awesome, by the way. Thank you so much. The biggest risk that paid off.
Was that check I wrote that day to acquire 50% of the company?
Awesome. One trait every franchisor should cultivate.
It's all about the people.
Love that. Biggest marketing surprise.
One bad mistake can bankrupt your company.
Wow. What's the secret sauce behind franchise marketing success?
Investing the resources to get the right people.
Love that. Craig George, you're a busy person. I would love to do this again sometimes, because we didn't even cover half the stuff I wanted to cover. But I think this episode's been great. And thank you for sharing so many things today.
Yeah, I'll just say one last thing. The reason
Please.
why I've done a lot of podcasts, and the one thing I attend these podcasts for is I hope that I just help one person, that man or woman that maybe stumbled onto your podcast or others, that, maybe they're thinking they wanna learn how to market and grow their franchise company, but they've got a problem with addiction. And they see a guy like me, tattooed up, eccentric as can be, that's got quite the story, and they go, "You know what? Maybe I need to think about that. Maybe I have a problem. Maybe I need to reach out to this guy, Greg George, and talk with him." And I'll be honest with you, I've saved a lot of people's lives probably, but I love mentoring. And there's so many. You found me on LinkedIn. Well, I don't know anybody, and I have 300,000 Instagram followers, and they found me. I didn't go after them. I didn't send in invites or anything. So, if nothing else, I hope this reaches just one person that knows that they've got a problem and they somehow track me down or track someone else down. I've got a good success rate. I've only lost one person of the 54 people that I've put in a treatment center, one person, and track me down. And I'll drop what I'm doing. I don't care. I'll drop what I'm doing. I've done it before. I'll jump on an airplane. I'll talk to the parents. I'll talk to the wife. I'll talk to the husband. I'll talk to the kids. I put a lot of families back together because I know my gift. My gift is not to sell peach cobbler or build the largest dessert company or the sweet and savory company in the world. Is to reach people through my story and hopefully save a few lives. And I mean that with everything I have inside.
No, thank you. I think your story says it all. And thank you for that gifting you do, giving back and paying it forward, and however you want to say it. But the more people that can be part of that story, that can share that, share your story, share their story as it goes forward. So thank you for.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
No, it was great. Let's stay in touch. Thank you for joining the Franchise Whispering podcast for franchise marketing news, and really, really appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, pal. Bye now.
Take care.